A warning spoken before the sky darkens. My name is Abebe Negash. Ethiopian Hearts for Peace and African Hearts for Peace. Why this must be said now, especially if you are Ethiopian, if you are living in the Horn of Africa and Red Sea area, it's very important you hear this. I am not a politician. I am an engineer by training. I'm a refugee by history and a peacemaker by conviction. I speak today not to advance a party, a faction, or a foreign agenda, but to speak plainly before events outrun our ability to correct them. This message is offered through Ethiopian Hearts for Peace and African Hearts for Peace. Two initiatives grounded in dialogue, truth seeking, and the belief that no people are disposable and not nation is designed to burn for the interests of others. What I say here may be uncomfortable. It may anger some, but it is not written to offend, to demonize, or to incite. It is written because silence at this moment is more dangerous than honesty. Ethiopia stands at the center of the Horn of Africa. When Ethiopia trembles, the region shakes. When Ethiopia burns, the consequences do not stop at its borders. And today, the sign around us suggests that Ethiopia is being positioned slowly but deliberately as your political flashpoint whose cost will be paid by ordinary Ethiopians. And this is a warning, not a prediction. Warnings exist to be heeded, not fulfilled. The growing argument is that should trouble us all. Recent developments demand sober reflection. The unification of Fano forces into a single armed front with a political wing is a historic moment. There is no doubt on that. For many Amhara people who feel marginalized, displaced, and attacked, this unification feels like self-defense, dignity, and survival. That grievance is real. It must be acknowledged. However, what raises alarm is not the existence of grievance, nor even the organization of resistance, but who is celebrating this development most loudly. It is not primarily the farmers, mothers, clergy, and displaced families of Amhara who are celebrating in the streets. Some may have done so. But what amazes me is it is foreign governments and the regional actors, Eritrea, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, factions in Sudan, and others who appear usually enthusiastic. This symmetry should not trouble every Ethiopian. I apologize. This symmetry should trouble every Ethiopian regardless of ethnicity or political stance. When external powers celebrate internal armed movements more than the affected people themselves, history teaches us one lesson. The interests being served may not be Ethiopian interests, brothers and sisters, let alone Amharan interest. You see, Ethiopia is a battleground, not a partner for all of them. Let's speak clearly. Ethiopia today sits at the intersection of several major geopolitical struggles. To name a few, the Red Sea and maritime security competition, the Nile and water sovereignty dispute, the fragmentation of Sudan, the unresolved tension between Ethiopia and Eritrea, the internationalization of Somaliland, the militarization of drones and proxy warfare and AI warfare. Each of this alone is manageable. Together, they form a dangerous web. When armed movements inside Ethiopia align, formally or informally, with foreign governments that have unresolved territorial, water, or security disputes with Ethiopia, the danger is not just regime change. The danger is state erosion. A government can fall and be replaced. A state that collapses into contested zones of influence does not recover easily. History shows us this in Libya, Syria, Yemen, and parts of the Sahel. None of these societies lacked brave fighters, brothers and sisters. What they lacked was a shared national firewall against foreign agendas. Here it is. The question Fano must ask itself, and the nation must ask together. Fano's rise must be understood in context. Amhara civilians have suffered atrocities, displacement and humiliation. Many feel the state failed them or turned against them. But this truth does not remove the responsibility to ask hard questions. If the current government falls, what replaces it? Who guarantees that alliances formed today will not demand repayment tomorrow? How will territorial disputes be resolved without reopening old wounds? How will grievances with Tigray be addressed without restarting cycle of revenge? What is the plan for Oromo Amhara reconciliation beyond the battlefield? How will Ethiopia negotiate the Nile if its internal cohesion collapses? An armed struggle that removes a government but leaves a fractured society is not liberation. It is a delayed disaster. Why? Here is the danger of illusion. Many elites say, my enemy's enemy. One of the most dangerous illusions in politics is the belief that my enemy's enemy is my friend. Let us examine the alignments being discussed or implied here. TPLF and Amhara grievances. Yes, both Amhara and Tigrayans have suffered under the current order, but unresolved territorial dispute and trauma remain. Silence does not equal reconciliation. Eritrea's involvement. Eritrean forces are already deep inside Ethiopian territory. Many historical questions, sovereignty, borders, independence era grievances remain unresolved. Then you have Sudan and Al-Fashika. Ethiopian farmers were displaced. Land was seized. What justice framework addressed this? Oromo armed factions. Credible accusations of ethnic and religious targeting exist, especially against Amhara, non-Oromos, and Orthodox Christians How will trust be rebuilt now? Then you have Egypt and the Nile. Egypt's strategic interest is clear and unchanged. Ethiopia's fragmentation weakens its negotiation position. Alignments built only on short-term tactical convenience often become long-term national liabilities. We're talking the risk of stateless here. When I say statelessness, I do not mean the disappearance of a flag or border on a map. I mean something more subtle and more devastating. Competing armed atrocities, fragmented legitimacy, foreign security guarantees replacing national ones, citizens protected by militias instead of law, negotiations held abroad instead of at home. A stateless society still has people, culture, and history, but no unified capacity to protect itself from exploitation. This is a real danger facing Ethiopia if internal conflicts become entry points for regional proxy wars. Why war will not end the war? Some argue that war is unavoidable, that dialogue is naive, that force is the only language left. But Ethiopia has already tested this theory repeatedly. Every war since 1974 promised final resolution. None delivered it. Each war resolved one grievance while creating 3 new ones. Even if the current government is toppled by force, internal conflict will not end. It will simply rearrange itself along new lines. Weapons do not heal trauma. Victory does not produce trust. And drones do not build nations. Let's ask, and let's see the failure of the current dialogue framework. You see, the government's dialogue commission lacks trust. This is undeniable. Many see it as performative, selective, or politically constrained. But rejecting a flawed dialogue does not mean rejecting dialogue itself. It means creating a credible alternative. What are we talking about here? The alternative Ethiopians must master before it is too late. The alternative is not surrender. It is not silence, and it is not submission to injustice. The alternative is a nationally owned, truth-anchored, inclusive dialogue architecture that includes armed and unarmed actors, ethnic and civic voices, elders, technocrats, youth, women, clergy, elites, victims before visitors, truth before power, and so forth. This cannot be led by the current government alone. It cannot be controlled by armed movements alone. And it cannot be outsourced to foreign capitals. It must be Ethiopian in ownership, African in solidarity, and human in tone. Human. This is the vision behind Ethiopian Hearts for Peace and African Hearts for Peace. Not politics as competition, but policies as repair. Because if Ethiopia, we are warning this. We are warning and we're speaking in care. If Ethiopia becomes a battleground for Red Sea geopolitics, or Horn of Africa geopolitics, or Nile politics, and the Horn of African rivalries, the suffering will exceed anything its people can endure. Missiles do not ask ethnicity. Drones do not respect history. Proxy wars do not rebuild schools. There is still time, brothers and sisters, but time is shrinking. Those who carry arms must also carry wisdom. Those who hold power must loosen their grip for the sake of the nation. And those who speak for peace must not be intimidated into silence. I offer this message not as an accusation, but as an appeal. May it be heard before the sky darkens. And my name is Abebe Negash, Ethiopian Hearts for Peace and African Hearts for Peace. Thank you very much.